National Convention in Kansas City, Missouri, his big delegate haul from the primaries meant that he had tons of his own supporters on the committee that was drawing up that year's Republican Party platform. Jesse Helms and his allies were very clear on what they wanted from that platform. They wanted a plank explicitly opposing legal abortion in this country. President Ford barely had enough delegates to secure the nomination. He was in no position to argue, and so they got it. And that weirdly specific story is how the Republican Party officially became the anti-abortion party. The party that would, of course, nominate Reagan himself for president 4 years later and win. The party that would make opposition to legal abortion central to its identity and central to its national conventions every 4 years. If you remember anything, I mean, pick a convention. 1992 RNC, you don't remember President George H.W. Bush getting nominated for re-election. You remember the fire-breathing culture war speech from his far-right primary opponent, Pat Buchanan, roaring about fighting abortion on demand, right? I mean, fighting abortion is what Republican national conventions are all about. Every single one, every 4 years. For decades, this has been true. The fight against legal abortion, the fight against Roe versus Wade has been as much a character at every Republican convention as the fricking fracking nominee. And Donald Trump is the president who finally did it. He said he would overturn Roe versus Wade, and he did. He appointed 3 hardline, ultra-conservative, anti-abortion doctrinaire Supreme Court justices who wasted no time, in fact, in overturning Roe versus Wade. Abortion is now banned or extremely restricted in nearly half the states in the union. The Republican Party accomplished what they've been trying to do for 50 years. And at their convention this week, no mention of abortion. We have heard lots and lots of other things talked about at this convention. We have had aged former wrestlers rip off their clothes. We've had all sorts of things happen. No mention of abortion whatsoever. It is gone, totally missing. That is how politically toxic they think this issue is for them now that they have achieved their #1 goal of 50 years. They are pretending that it never happened. That said, it's still looming as large as ever, A, because it's the real politic of what people are living through in this country, but also because Trump just picked a running mate who wants a national abortion ban in all 50 states, no exceptions. He's sitting there in the family box at the RNC next to Speaker Mike Johnson, who says he wants a national 50-state abortion ban, no exceptions. Lawrence, I feel like it's the dog that didn't bark for the Republicans at this convention.
Yeah, when I was working in the Senate in the 1990s, what you saw the abortion issue doing was kind of exactly what each party needed it to do. You couldn't imagine the Republican Party without it. There was just no way they could come close to winning a national vote without it. They needed that piece in their coalition. But you know that they never, ever, ever wanted it to go away. Like, I mean, that's what I thought on my side of it. I didn't believe George W. Bush wanted it to go away, because then what do? How do you campaign on it the way they campaigned on it? I never dreamed Reagan wanted it to go away or H.W. Bush wanted it to go away. And the Democrats were very usefully using it against them, and both sides were using it for enormous fundraising, enormous fundraising. And it just seemed like a status quo that in party dynamics served both parties. And and what the Democratic Party was simply saying was preserve Roe versus Wade. So they were literally winning every single day that it was preserved. The Republican Party was saying get rid of it, but if they got rid of it, then what happens? And now you see what happens. They got rid of it, and the guy who got rid of it is afraid of talking about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, Chris.
One of the things I just note about that is that I think it's really important to understand about this issue how sincerely and zealously the people who are fighting for it believe in it, which is to say...
On both sides.
No, right, but I mean particularly people that want to ban abortion everywhere nationwide. Like, they could have looked at this and said, maybe we won't go after mifepristone. That's probably like a 70-30 issue, went after mifepristone. They looked at it in Florida, and they're like, this is not, Florida doesn't want a 6-week ban. This is polling, again, 70-30. They did it. They are going to keep doing it everywhere they can across because they genuinely believe in it. There is a political class that likes having the issue and is like looking at this like, what are we going to do? The core grassroots of the Republican Party and the coalition believes in the project and will pursue it to the ends of the earth whenever they are in power, full stop.
But the difference is that part of the activist community was never in the room. The people that support bans that eliminate exceptions in the cases of life of the mother, that's a 7% issue.
Right.
That is unpopular among 93% of all Americans. The people who support bans that eliminate exceptions for rape and incest, that's a 90% oppose. So the people that are for those 7 to 10% issues were never at the table. They were never, even when both sides had this tension, those people were never in the room. They now run the Trump Republican Party.
Yeah.
You know, and I have to say, I never once believed a single Republican elected official believed what they were saying about this, and that every one of their daughters who might get pregnant at age 14, every one of them would do whatever was necessary to take care of that. And John McCain is the only one who didn't understand the correct language of this that you were supposed to use. In his campaign, when he was asked what would happen if Meghan got pregnant, she was 14 years old or something at the time. And he said, well, we'd have to have a family meeting about it and figure out what to do, is basically his answer. Within 24 hours, he had to change that.
Choose.
He had to change that to, of course, the result of the meeting was we'd figure out how to take care of the baby. But the first answer was correct, which was, of course I don't mean the stuff that we say applies to me or my daughter.
Right.
I don't think there was a single federal elected official in Washington, certainly when I was there, who ever would have applied that to their own daughters.
And by the way, Donald Trump doesn't believe it either. I think just let's be
not for
clear.
a second of his life.
But what he's done is he's opened up the party, as you said, he's handed the party over to them. I remember interviewing someone from the thing called the Liberty Council back in 2004, back when I was not in the media doing some other stuff from freelancing. And I remember interviewing him for an article that I was looking to write. And he said, we're going to support the Republican Party for now, but there's going to come a time when we're going to expect them to go through with this and to fulfill their promises to us. And for now, we're with George W. Bush. But if we don't get what we want at a certain point, we're going to withdraw our support. And so the activists very much, they don't care if it's a 90% negative issue. They wanted it badly then, but to your point and to your point, the person that was on the ballot, George W. Bush, was at least politically savvy enough to know, well, this isn't something we really want. They didn't want to catch the car, but now they've caught it, and now they have to actually deal with the ramifications for it in this real electoral process right now, and it is devastating. It is why they didn't get a red wave in 2020.
And I would say the one thing that's interesting about this, I think, for the Democratic Party and how they message and do politics around this is that it's really, this is one of those, here's Melania Trump, the former First Lady. We were noting earlier, she hasn't been seen with her husband in any circumstances, let alone at political events, for a very, very, very long time since they left the White House. So it's very unusual that she's here for this event, this entrance into the hall, obviously a real moment for the Trump family and for the RNC. On the abortion issue, though, the dynamic that you're describing, Joy, means that the Democrats, when they talk about abortion rights, just need to talk about what happens when Republicans get power. It's not personal.
Right.
It's not about a personal Republican, an individual Republican politician who has an individual stance that they're going to make an issue out of. I'm sorry, it's the Republican-controlled Supreme Court in Alabama. They're going to ban IVF. It's the Republican-controlled legislature in Idaho. They're going to try to ban birth control. It's any place Republicans have power, the Republican Party will go after abortion the easiest way, and then they'll do the hard ways, and then they'll go after fertility, and then they'll go after birth control. They're after all of it, and that's what the Republican project is.
And they won't stop at a settlement of the sort of line, which is, and Mike Johnson got asked this at an event today, we've given it back to the states, right? It is a obviously preposterous set of propositions to say this is the murdering of child, and we think child murder is fine in 20 states.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's obviously not true. And people think that first we think it's the murder of a child is pretending. And I think for politicians, a lot of it is. But there's millions of people who really believe that. And they're going to spend every second of their lives to stamp it out everywhere fully. And the only thing that will stop them is some definitive political defeat. That is all.
And by the way, this was said on the debate stage during the Republican primaries. I can't remember which candidate said it, that you can't say that it is fine to murder babies in California, but not in Mississippi.
Exactly.
So they're very clear. And the activists don't just want, this has been since I was in high school, they don't just believe that abortion is wrong. They believe that birth control is an abortifacient. They want to get rid of that. And in states like Mississippi, they want to pursue women outside the state of Mississippi. They want to be able to track women's pregnancies. They tried to float in the state of Florida that they would be able to get girls' periods tracked in high school. Like, they want to be able to constantly track women and pursue them around the country, because this is an ideological belief, and they believe they've got to stop. They think that they are heroic. Like, they actually think that they are the heroes that's stopping a form of slavery. They compare it to Dred Scott, and they are very clear that they don't care if you're in California or New York.
J.D. Vance is right there. He said that abortion is like, it's akin to slavery, and he has signed on to those efforts to allow attorneys general, to allow prosecutors to get women's medical records, to follow them out of state.
The serious anti-abortion vote, and I know some of those people who firmly believe abortion is murder. They're not lying. They're not like the politicians. They had a candidate in this primary, in this Republican primary, and his name was Mike Pence. They had a candidate. And I mistakenly believed that enough of those people as voters would take their belief into the primary, and Mike Pence was going to cause a problem for Donald Trump, even if Donald Trump wasn't at the debates, because Mike Pence was going to show you the crack, the opening between him and Donald Trump on this issue, and he did, and no one cared.
Correct.
They did not care.
Yeah. MSNBC anchor Stephanie Ruhle is on the floor of the RNC in Milwaukee this evening. I have no idea where. Steph, where are you and what are you seeing?
Right now, I am standing between South Dakota and Wyoming. Rachel, it's almost a night not to be believed, right? All week long, we keep hearing how things are going to be toned down and the temperature is going to tone down and unity. And then Hulk Hogan, the Hulkster, took the stage talking about criminals and scumbags, and they're going to get it when the Trumpsters show in, followed by Franklin Graham. And just moments ago, you mentioned it. It almost was like a Disney on Ice experience. Former First Lady Melania Trump made her way in, and I left out Eric Trump speaking. And what's important about Eric Trump's speech, because he really got this room fired up, he was talking all about the cost of living and inflation. And while he rattled off a whole lot of numbers where life is expensive, whether it's how much more groceries cost or your mortgage costs, what he left out was context that when Donald Trump left office, COVID was wrapping. What's amazing is he never actually talks about Operation Warp Speed, which could be a crowning jewel for him, and the fact that that's when the vaccine was developed. But in the new world of Trump, vaccine is not a positive word. I just think the word tonight, again, it was unity with a question mark last night. It's unity with a question mark again. People are fired up when they have a chance to speak. We hear fight, fight, fight. The person that got this crowd the most fired up tonight was Tucker Carlson, who was giving them all the red meat. And now, Trump being the showman that he is, the anticipation is rising and rising, and we're watching a video that's basically, you know, the story of the boy from New York. I mean, in the video, he's got an old school picture of our own Al Sharpton. He's got Oprah in it. He is trying to tell sort of the boy from New York story, and obviously in this room, they're buying it.
Steph, let me ask you, just being in the room, the overall atmospherics, we saw a not particularly full, sometimes raucous, sometimes more crowded, sometimes less venue over the course of the week. I have to imagine that it's kind of packed to the rafters right now since we're about to get Trump's speech.
This is the night. This is the night they're fired up. I mean, they were excited before J.D. Vance, but there was kind of a lackluster response. I'll tell you, J.D. Vance compared to Tucker Carlson, this place went off for Tucker Carlson. And now they're packed in, they're bedazzled, they're dressed up, they got their cowboy hats on, they've got every sign imaginable, and they're just waiting for him to take the stage. When Melania came in, they have this thing designed, produced very much like it's a royal event, and certainly when she came in, it was as though it was the queen of the night, and there's no one talking about the fact that we haven't seen her in any political arena for months and months. Listen, Donald Trump's a showman, and this is a show.
MSNBC anchor Stephanie Ruhle for us in Milwaukee. Stephanie. We'll be back with you a little bit later on. We're going to squeeze in our last quick break before former president makes his acceptance speech. I've seen excerpts. You might want to get a glass of water. Snack time now. We'll be right back.
He believes so strongly in America, so optimistic. Once again, make our country great.
If you're living with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis or active psoriatic arthritis, symptoms can sometimes take you out of the moment. Now there's Skyrizi. So you can show up with clearer skin and show it off.
Nothing is everything.
With Skyrizi, you can take each step with 90% clearer skin. And if you have psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi can help you get moving with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine, or plan to.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and less joint pain. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about how Skyrizi could help with your skin or joint symptoms. Learn how AbbVie could help you save. When it comes to losing weight, everything you need, everything you want, everything in one plan is here. New Nutrisystem Complete. It's the complete package that you asked for. And Nutrisystem delivered with everything you need to lose weight and get healthy, like the millions before you, at one low price. You get the easy-to-use Numi app, all of the live coaching you need, and the best part of losing weight with Nutrisystem, the food. Call or go online to
Days, the perfect gift to say thank you. The perfect gift to bring to a party. Featuring chef-selected ingredients from around the world, Borderie boards are handmade, fresh daily, and shipped to your door overnight. With themed boards for every holiday and occasion, Borderie is guaranteed to impress, whether you're gifting or hosting. Send a board to someone you love today at Borderie.com.
At SimpliSafe, we designed the #1 rated home security system powered by 24/7 professional monitoring for half the cost of traditional home security. So you stay safe for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
When anyone in this house wears white, it doesn't stay white for long. White to soccer?
I'm not gonna slide tackle.
But now with Tide Oxy White, we can clean our white clothes without using bleach. Even work some colors.
I slide tackled.
I see that.
It's got to be Tide. If you're over 50, imagine you could turn back the clock on your stiff, achy joints 10, even 20 years. Imagine you could do this without products that just temporarily hide the symptoms. Imagine no more. Instaflex Advanced. Get a complimentary sample just by texting KNEE to 231231. Instaflex Advanced is different because it targets the root cause of joint soreness and stiffness. It doesn't just cover up symptoms. Instead, it bathes your joints in its unique combination of 5 key natural ingredients found in no other product. Key ingredients backed by 5 clinical studies. Instaflex Advanced is so powerful, you could have better knees in just 1 week. Maybe that's why it's #1 at GNC. But you can only get your complimentary sample by texting KNEE to 231231. Plus, text now and we'll include a tube of Instaflex pain cream with its exclusive oxygenated oil for fast-acting relief from the pain of arthritis, backaches, and sore muscles, absolutely free. Text KNEE to 231231.
One of the things I like about what I get to do is that each day is pretty unique. I might wake up and find out there's a brand new poll out, and I want to dive into it and get something on air about that poll. Or I might find out that there's not a lot of new numbers in the world today, and so today's going to be a day I'm going to spend researching, learning about a state, about the different counties, about the voter history, about the demographic trends, and just committing that all to memory. The only way to really be prepared is to get it all in my brain ahead of time.
Welcome back to the Republican National Convention. Kid Rock. Ah, they're actually doing it.
The audience are so confused right now. You know that the people in that room don't have any idea who that is.
Well, you know, he's like a MAGA celebrity, right?
Look, are they
He
towering it
shot
over?
a can of Budweiser.
Yeah. Welcome back to night 4 of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That was the end of, I won't call them remarks, but an experience with Mr. Rock. Kid. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it
Kid Rock.
Kid Rock? Is it like first name Kid?
Kid Rock, and it was a Bud Light.
Kid Rock.
Bud Light, not Bud. Right?
Well, Budweiser.
Bud Light.
It's a form of Budweiser.
Budweiser family.
But here's the thing: is it Kid Rock? Like, my name is first name, last name, but you can call me Kid Rock, or does he say his name? Richie? Richie, Kid Rock, something?
No, but he's just Kid Rock.
We'll sort all this out before we're live on.
Actually, I think he was rehearsing when I was on the air 4 to 6, and it was loud, and so they got the benefit of this performance that was rehearsing earlier in the day. So sound checks and everything. I'm sure it was great.
We have excerpts. No, we have
great.
We have the speech. We have the
Yeah.
excerpts from Donald Trump's speech. I've seen a little bit of it. I haven't seen much. Alex, you've been going through it.
Yeah. I will say it is the excerpts that we can report on are, Trump is saying the things that I think he believes he should be saying about unity. We unite this evening more determined than ever. He talks about being president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America. I mean... That's mathematically true. I think rhetorically he's not. I don't think it's a bad thing that Trump is taking the position that unity is a good thing for the country.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So we don't want to besmirch that instinct, but at the same time, I can't get past the fact that this is a spectacle, an event where you have people holding up mass deportation signs now. Mass deportation now signs, where you have a vice president who has now been on tape announcing that he believes there should be a national abortion ban so that women don't cross state lines to exercise bodily autonomy. Where there's this hat doffing to the working class while corporate America, the Washington Post is reporting, is funneling money into this convention and Wall Street titans are in the audience. I mean, I just think the hypocrisy around a lot of different themes that are being proposed in this convention is pretty staggering and deserves, some focus given what the president's going to say tonight. I will also say, Rachel, to your point about abortion, this is really the harvest of 40 years of conservative thinking and strategy coming home to roost. For so long, the conservative movement has wanted to reinforce the primacy of the Christian family, and everything that is a threat to it needs to be extinguished, whether that's abortion and reproductive choice, whether that's gay marriage that threatens the sort of Christian heteronormative nuclear family, whether that's, affirmative action that champions non-white, potentially non-Christian voices. This is really something in terms of an achievement of something the right wing and the new right under Reagan and now the self-designated new right under leaders like J.D. Vance has been working towards for decades.
Yeah.
That point about Donald Trump saying there's no victory in just half of the country, in effect, voting for him. Less than half of the country voted for him last time, and he got the Electoral College. Same thing with George W. Bush in his first win. And if we lived in a democracy, this is a thought exercise for the way we live in this country and how it's not a democracy. If we lived in a democracy where the candidate who gets the most votes wins the election, there would be one Republican on the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas. That's what your country would be if the person who gets the most votes won the election. Al Gore would have been president. You wouldn't have had Alito. You wouldn't have had John Roberts. Donald Trump would not have been president. And so the idea of, this talk about how can this country be so divided? Well, when you take candidates who come in second, make them president, give them the power to appoint kings on the Supreme Court, for life on the Supreme Court, when really what you've earned through electoral power on the Supreme Court, what you've earned by the votes of the people is exactly one justice, Clarence Thomas. That's the only one who's put on there by someone who got to the presidency by winning the most votes.
Yeah, and I mean, Tucker Carlson, when he did his speech earlier tonight, said that real democracy is what Donald Trump represents because he's giving the people what they want, and that that is what he represents, that he actually is the one who's giving the people what they want. Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump's views are minority views. So they've decided that the people who believe what they want, who want a national abortion ban, who want Christian nationalism, those are the people, and everyone else are non-people. And so it doesn't matter what anyone else wants, because to them, it's whatever Donald Trump says the people want, that's what the people want, and that is actual democracy.
What is interesting is that I will not be the first person or even the first millionth person to note this, but to have in Donald Trump, having lived the way he has lived and having had the tabloid lifestyle that he has reveled in for so long, that's so much a part of what his public persona is, to have him be the vehicle for a movement that really has brought about abortion bans, that wants to get rid of no-fault divorce.
Yes, that was, yes.
Right, that wants to ban contraception, literally wants, contraception is birth control. Yeah. Wants to ban birth control, has already tried to ban fertility treatments. To have those things ride him to power, to have him be the vehicle for those sorts of transformative things in American life and culture is really the second time I've said this in 2 days, but it is a Shakespearean thing. I mean, that is a hard thing to square.
Melania could not be there without no-fault divorce, right? Because he keeps divorcing women to marry different women. I mean, he's sitting there with the children of his first wife, who he divorced to marry the second wife, and Tiffany, that daughter, is sitting there, and then he divorced her, and then he married Melania. I mean, the no-fault divorce would have made his whole lifestyle impossible. I mean, the reality is that he has become the rest of the other things.
Part of it that brings back the role, the complicity of the Republican Party is they all know this also. Yeah. And January 6th happens because Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy say, let him cry it out. We know he lost, but let him cry it out. So he cries it out, and there's the first ever violent, they end the American tradition of peaceful transfer of power. The world over, we can't say that anymore to anyone, anywhere, right? That we are a country with a peaceful transfer of power. They end that. Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy do that. Mitch McConnell refers, it could be one person, right? Mitch McConnell refers Trump criminally, but because of Mitch McConnell's role in manipulating the makeup of the United States Supreme Court, what Mitch McConnell thought should happen to Donald Trump for his role on January 6th will never happen to Donald Trump or anybody else. You can't refer a president for criminal prosecution ever again because of what Mitch McConnell did to the United States Supreme Court. Kevin McCarthy is getting punked every day at the convention by Matt Gaetz, telling don't get between McCarthy and a camera, because he wants to tell anyone listening that Matt Gaetz did terrible things, had sex with an underage girl, and should be prosecuted. DOJ looked at that case, didn't happen. That's because Donald Trump's guy Bill Barr was there. It's a case that Merrick Garland actually inherited, and who knows why it wasn't brought. But, everything that has come to pass is also the fault, or primarily the fault, of the Republican Party.
Here's Donald Trump walking out on stage to accept the nomination of the Republican Party for president for the third time. Donald Trump is only the second president in American history to lose a re-election bid and then win his party's nomination again 4 years later. The last was Grover Cleveland over 130 years ago. He did have the same stage setup when he did it, Grover Cleveland. Trump is the only major party nominee in U.S. history to be a convicted felon. He was found guilty on 34 felony counts just weeks ago. He will accept his party's nomination with a bandage on his ear, covering a wound from an assassination attempt a few days ago. And of course, Trump has fundamentally changed the Republican Party, turning it into effectively a cult of personality around himself. As evidenced by this week's convention, over the last 8 years, pretty much every Republican has either become a Trump acolyte or has been banished from the party. As he takes the stage tonight at the 2024 Republican National Convention, this is 100% his party. You see the firefighter gear there. That gear reportedly belongs to Corey Comparator, the Western Pennsylvania father and volunteer firefighter who was killed at the Trump rally on Saturday night. Butler, Pennsylvania Trump rally this weekend. He was trying to shield his family from the bullets from that attempted assassination. Mr. Comparator was just 50 years old. He leaves a wife and 2 daughters. His jacket and helmet will remain on stage for the duration of Trump's acceptance speech. Let's watch.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Wow. And thank you, Dana. Thank you, Kid Rock, sometimes referred to as Bob. And thank you, Lee, right from the beginning. Thank you very much. What a talent. What a beautiful, beautiful soul. Thank you. Friends, delegates, and fellow citizens, I stand before you this evening with a message of confidence, strength, and hope. 4 months from now, we will have an incredible victory, and we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. Together, we will launch a new era of safety, prosperity, and freedom for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. The discord and division in our society must be healed. We must heal it quickly. As Americans, we are bound together by a single fate and a shared destiny. We rise together or we fall apart. I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America. So tonight, with faith and devotion, I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we will do it right. We're going to do it right. Let me begin this evening by expressing my gratitude to the American people for your outpouring of love and support following the assassination attempt at my rally on Saturday. As you already know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me, what happened? Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened, and you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. It was a warm, beautiful day in the early evening in Butler Township in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Music was loudly playing, and the campaign was doing really well. I went to the stage, and the crowd was cheering wildly. Everybody was happy. I began speaking very strongly, powerfully, and happily, because I was discussing the great job my administration did on immigration at the southern border. We were very proud of it. Behind me and to the right was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. And moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack, and in one movement proceeded to drop to the ground. Bullets were continuing to fly as very brave Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, and they really did. They rushed to the stage. These are great people at great risk, I will tell you, and pounced on top of me so that I would be protected. There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together. The most incredible aspect of what took place on that terrible evening in the fading sun was actually seen later. In almost all cases, as you probably know, and when even a single bullet is fired, just a single bullet, and we had many bullets that were being fired, crowds run for the exits or stampede, but not in this case. It's very unusual. This massive crowd of tens of thousands of people stood by and didn't move an inch. In fact, many of them bravely, but automatically stood up looking for where the sniper would be. They knew immediately it was a sniper, and then began pointing at him. You can see that if you look at the group behind me. That was just a small group compared to what was in front. Nobody ran, and by not stampeding, many lives were saved. But that isn't the reason that they didn't move. The reason is that they knew I was in very serious trouble. They saw it. They saw me go down. They saw the blood and thought, actually most did, that I was dead. They knew it was a shot to the head. They saw the blood. And there's an interesting statistic. The ears are the bloodiest part. If something happens with the ears, they bleed more than any other part of the body. For whatever reason, the doctors told me that. I said, why is there so much blood? He said, it's the ears. They bleed more. So we learned something, but they just, this beautiful crowd, they didn't want to leave me. They knew I was in trouble. They didn't want to leave me. And you can see that love written all over their faces. Incredible people. They're incredible people. Bullets were flying over us, yet I felt serene. But now the Secret Service agents were putting themselves in peril. They were in very dangerous territory. Bullets were flying right over them, missing them by a very small amount of inches. And then it all stopped. Our Secret Service sniper, from a much greater distance, thank you. But I'm not. And I'll tell you, I stand before you in this arena only by the grace of Almighty God. In watching the reports over the last few days, many people say it was a providential moment. Probably was. When I rose, surrounded by Secret Service, the crowd was confused because they thought I was dead, and there was great, great sorrow. I could see that on their faces as I looked out. They didn't know I was looking out. They thought it was over. But I could see it, and I wanted to do something to let them know I was okay. I raised my right arm, looked at the thousands and thousands of people that were breathlessly waiting, and started shouting, "Fight, fight, fight." Thank you. Once my clenched fist went up, and it was high into the air. You've all seen that. The crowd realized I was okay and roared with pride for our country like no crowd I have ever heard before. Never heard anything like it. For the rest of my life, I will be grateful for the love shown by that giant audience of patriots that stood bravely on that fateful evening in Pennsylvania. Tragically, the shooter claimed the life of one of our fellow Americans, Corey Comparator. Unbelievable person, everybody tells me. Unbelievable. And seriously wounded. Two other great warriors, spoke to them today. David Dutch and James Copenhaver. Two great people. I also spoke to all three families of these tremendous people. Our love and prayers are with them, and always will be. We're never going to forget them. They came for a great rally. They were serious Trumpsters, I want to tell you. They were serious Trumpsters, and still are. But Corey, unfortunately, we have to use the past tense. He was incredible. He was a highly respected former fire chief, respected by everybody. Was accompanied by his wife, Helen, incredible woman. I spoke to her today, devastated, and two precious daughters. He lost his life selflessly, acting as a human shield to protect them from flying bullets. He went right over the top of them and was hit. What a fine man he was. I want to thank the fire department and the family for sending his helmet, his outfit, and it was just something, and they're going to do something very special when they get it. But we did something which cannot match what happened, not even close. But I am very proud to say that over the past few days, we've raised $6.3 million for the families of David, James, and Corey, including from a friend of mine just called up. He sent me a check right here. I just got it. $1 million from Dan Newland. Thank you, Dan. And again, when speaking to the family, I told them, I said, well, I'm going to be sending you a lot of money, but it can't compensate. They all said the same thing. You're right, sir. We appreciate so much what you're doing, but nothing can take the place in the case of Corey and the other two. By the way, they were very, very seriously injured, but now they're doing very well. They're going to be okay. They're going to be doing very well. They're warriors. So now I ask that we observe a moment of silence in honor of our friend Corey. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for others. This is the spirit that forged America in her darkest hours, and this is the love that will lead America back to the summit of human achievement and greatness. This is what we need. Despite such a heinous attack, we unite this evening more determined than ever. I am more determined than ever, and so are you. So is everybody in this room. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our resolve is unbroken and our purpose is unchanged to deliver a government that serves the American people better than ever before. Nothing will stop me in this mission because our vision is righteous and our cause is pure. No matter what obstacle comes our way, we will not break, we will not bend, we will not back down, and I will never stop fighting for you, your family, and our magnificent country. Never. And everything I have to give with all of the energy and fight in my heart and soul, I pledge to our nation tonight. Thank you very much. I pledge that to our nation. We're going to turn our nation around, and we're going to do it very quickly. Thank you. This election should be about the issues facing our country and how to make America successful, safe, free, and great again. In an age when our politics too often divide us, now is the time to remember that we are all fellow citizens. We are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we must not criminalize dissent or demonize political disagreement, which is what's been happening in our country lately at a level that nobody has ever seen before. In that spirit, the Democrat Party should immediately stop weaponizing the justice system and labeling their political opponent as an enemy of democracy. Especially since That is not true. In fact, I am the one saving democracy for the people of our country. And very big news, as you probably just read, on Monday a major ruling was handed down from a highly respected federal judge in Florida, Eileen Cannon, finding that the prosecutor and the fake documents case against me were totally unconstitutional, and the entire case was thrown out of court. With all of that publicity, thrown out of court. If Democrats want to unify our country, they should drop these partisan witch hunts, which I have been going through for approximately 8 years. And they should do that without delay and allow an election to proceed that is worthy of our people. We're going to win it anyway, but worthy of our people. On this journey, I am deeply honored to be joined by my amazing wife, Melania. And Melania, thank you very much. You also did something really beautiful, a letter to America calling for national unity, and it really took the Republican Party by surprise. I will tell you, it was beautiful. In fact, some very serious people said that we should take that letter and put it as part of the Republican platform. That would be an honor, wouldn't it? Right, Mr. Congressman? But it captivated so many, so I also want to thank my entire family for being here, Don, Kimberly, Ivanka and Jared, Eric and Lara. Wood, a very special, beautiful person. He's a beautiful man. But they all wanted to be here. They called, and how about the Hulkster? How good was he? Is he? Where is he? Boy, oh boy. You know, they may call that entertainment. I know about entertainment, but when he used to lift a 350-pound man over his shoulders and then bench press him 2 rows into the audience, I say maybe entertainment, but he is one strong son of a gun. I will tell you, I watched it many times. There aren't a lot of entertainers that can do that, right? You were fantastic. Thank you very much. Followed by Eric. What was that all about? Boy, that was good. I didn't want to really come up here. But he was so great, and he's such a good young man. He went through a lot of trouble, and Don last night was incredible. They went through so much trouble. They got subpoenaed more than any people probably in the history of the United States. Every week they get another subpoena from the Democrats, crazy Nancy Pelosi, the whole thing, just boom, boom, boom. They've got to stop that because they're destroying our country. We have to work on making America great again, not on beating people. And we won. We beat them in all. We beat them on the impeachments. We beat them on indictments. We beat them. But the time that you have to spend, if they would devote that genius to helping our country, we'd have a much stronger and better country. And Jason, the biggest star in country music. Jason, thank you for being here. Jason, thank you very much. Jason Aldean, he's good. I like his wife even better, by the way. She's here. Thank you, Jason. But I'm thrilled to have a new friend and partner fighting by my side. The next Vice President of the United States, the current Senator from Ohio, J.D. Vance, and his incredible wife, Usha. He's going to be a great Vice President. He's going to be great. He'll be with this country and with this movement, greatest movement in the history of our country, Make America Great Again. When they criticize it, they say, we're going to try and stop MAGA. I said, MAGA is Make America Great Again. What are you going to stop? There's nothing to stop. Then they say, oh, that's right. It's very tough to fight it. And all of the people that did try and fight it have failed. But he's going to be with us for a long time, and it was an honor to select him. Great student at Yale. His wife was a great student at Yale. They met at Yale. These are two smart people. So, J.D., you're going to be doing this for a long time. Enjoy the ride. And a very special thank you to the extraordinary people of Milwaukee and the great state of... Oh, there they are. There they are. You are so easy to spot. And Green Bay's going to have a good team this year, right? They're going to have a good team. They're going to have a good team. Most of the audience doesn't like it, but it's true. You're going to have a very good team this year. And by the way, Wisconsin, we are spending over $250 million here, creating jobs and other economic development all over the place. So I hope you will remember this in November.